If you're anything like me, you get into Season of Discovery for one reason, and that reason is this slide from the BlizzCon reveal presentation in 2023. Now, as we're in the middle of Phase 3 right now, we are quickly approaching Phase 4, and there's a few things I want to do to start getting ready for what I consider to be the real part of the game when we get some of the new content like the Karazhan Crypts. So in this video, I want to talk about what I'm doing to prepare my gear for level 60. So as far as Phase 4 goes, there's still many questions on the table, like what is the itemization going to look like? What are the new tier sets going to look like? But there's a few things I want to focus on now that are going to hold true at level 60 that I can do today to get ready for stepping into Molten Core the minute I hit level 60. I want to go over a couple of those things with you today. This is going to circle around a few key topics, and one of them is hit rating. Now, hit rating is well known and well researched. There's nothing really new I'm revealing here, so this is a refresher if you've played before. But if you haven't, or you're just not really familiar with what it is for the new class you selected, here's what you need to know. So when we're talking about hit, we're mostly talking about the soft hit cap, at least for melee classes. What that means is this is the hit percentage you need to make sure that your special attacks, like the buttons you press that make yellow damage appear, actually hit the boss. Now, for two-handed users, that number is 9% hit. For dual wielders, the cap is 28%. However, you don't often go there. You really focus more around that 9% yourself. And for casters, it's 16%. And don't forget, casters is always 1% hit you cannot overcome in Classic. Now, why is it important? Well, that's because the level of the mob increases in the raids at level 60. So far, Season of Discovery, all the bosses have been plus 2 levels ahead of us, meaning the soft hit cap is somewhere for like 5 or 6% chance, depending on what your class is. Some classes say 5, some classes say 6, depending on how it sims and everything. But that aside, in Molten Core, it's going to be plus 3 levels. In Ixia, plus 3 levels. That means they're effectively level 63 mobs. And the hit caps apply directly to them, so it goes up from 5 or 6% now to 9% against raid bosses. Now, the exact number you want to reach isn't hard and fast for every class. You want to definitely use the sims to see how it works for your gear, check out the class discords, maybe articles on sites like Wowhead to see what is exactly what you want for hit rating for your class. For what I'm going to be showing here as examples, I play a Retribution Paladin as my main. It's a fairly straightforward one to gear hit for, but it should make for a good demonstration for how do you want to gear yourself? How do you want to think about gearing now for level 60? So let's get right to it. Let's go over to our 60 upgrades and see what the gear looks like. So this is my Paladin as it currently stands. I'm in mostly Sunken Temple gear, a few pieces here that I'm still working on, like the belt for instance. Without knowing what Blizzard has planned for the level 60 content, I feel pretty confident with my gear as it stands now that I could walk into Molten Core and do respectable DPS. But I am wasting a bunch of stats. For instance, if we look at the melee stats down at the bottom, my hit chance is 7%. Now, you might think, oh, that's good because the hit cap is 9. Well, there's a couple things to keep in mind as we're going towards level 60. The easiest one of which is for Paladins at least. And level 60, there'll be enough talent points to go down to the precision talent in the protection tree that gives me 3% hit right off the bat. 3% I don't have to worry about. So now that 9% is 6%. And my hit chance is at 7% currently. Wasting a percent, that could be put towards crit, more strength perhaps, attack power, whatever it may be. However, there's another thing coming up that Blizzard mentioned in the Phase 3 reveal video a few months ago that is worth paying attention to, and that is weapon specialization. As you probably know, humans have plus 5 weapon skill to maces and swords and their two-handed variants, and orcs the same with axes, giving them what is effectively 3% hit for free just by picking their race. Now, what was announced previously was that in Phase 4, there's going to be a way for every race to modify their weapon specialization. Now, this is important, even for humans and orcs. If you want to use a two-handed axe as a human, I can go apply my 5 skill points or my 5 weapon specialization points into axes or pole arms, which is going to be important in my next video when I talk about crafting and planning out reputations. Now, if you think about it from that perspective, you can be able to really customize your character and always have 3% hit passively at all times. That's great. That's huge. For instance, on my Paladin, now my hit cap has been reduced to 3%. And that's really manageable and lets me make some interesting gearing decisions at this point. So let's go look at what my level 60 gear that I'm planning to equip the minute I hit 60 looks like. Now, if you look, not everything has changed. There's been quite a few things that are similar, such as my helmet. You can't miss the deep sea diving helmet. No Morrigan neck piece is still the same. So there's a lot here that remains the same. However, the pieces gained from the PvP reputations I've been grinding out since the beginning of Season of Discovery start to pay off now, and that's worth paying attention to. And let's go over what this looks like. So looking at the shoulders, for instance, in the previous phase, these are the shoulder pads of dread, which are the crafted shoulders, give 1% hit to all my attacks and spells. The nice new hit stat that Blizzard introduced in Season of Discovery. Well, I don't need that hit anymore. I'm already over hit cap. So if I go here, I'm replacing them with the Arathi Basin Reputation shoulders, which also have a 3-piece set that gives you 1% crit. Now, why would I break the 3-piece Wailing Berserker set? That's probably the question you're asking, because it's a very good set. The 3-piece bonus is very good. Well, the reason for that is because with Warsong Rep at level 60, you get these epic pants, and these are fantastic. They have great strength, crit, and hit. Stats that are all useful, exactly what you're looking for in any kind of gear at level 60. So with these pants, I picked up 1% hit, but I also gained 1% crit. So overall, I'm increasing how much crit I have. For instance, with all things included, at 19.8% crit versus the 18.4, almost 1.5% crit. That's great. So other than that, though, I've just done a lot of upgrades. I upgraded my Highlander's Plate Girdle to the next one, also applying to the set bonus. And because I broke the 3-piece set for Wailing Berserkers with the pants, I'm adding the Highlander Plate Greaves, which then completes a 3-piece set bonus for the 1% crit. Everything else here is pretty standard. This is the nice cloak you get from the Arathi Basin rep. Definitely worth the grind for that alone, so you don't have to try to grind out things like the Cape the Black Baron or anything like that. You could still. There probably is classes or specs that favor that over this, but this is an excellent cloak right when you hit 60. The moment you hit it, you just go pay some gold and get it. The new Berserker Bracers, the new Protector's Band. And as you don't need hit here, you don't need anything like the Blackstone Ring here to use a Protector's Band. Now, if you have a class that does have higher hit requirements, this is a great slot to use some gear from level 50, like the Wild Off Ring or the Blackstone Ring, and put that in here for 1% hit easy. Additionally, I still plan on using Breath of the Beast, although this is probably going to be the first piece of gear I drop, because I could put in something like a Black Hand's Breath once I finish that quest chain for extra crit. However, for right now, this gets me right to the hit cap, and for reference, the hit doesn't show the weapon specialization here, so this is actually 3% on gear alone, with a 3 from weapon specialization. So with all that said, this is what I'm looking at here. If we just look at the raw numbers, from 855 attack power and 18.4% crit to 919 attack power and 19.8% crit, that's pretty significant upgrades with hitting the hit cap right on the nose, so that's really great. One thing with a Paladin worth mentioning is spell is more important, so I am sacrificing a little bit there from 4% spell hit and 9.85% spell crit down to 2% spell hit and 8.72. So it'll remain to be seen if that actually plays out right in the future. I may switch back and put more hit on my gear on again if I find I'm getting better rewards from that for using things like Exorcism Spam, if that's what we use at level 60 anyways. So with this being the case here, there's a lot of good gear worth getting now, a lot of things worth working on now to get ready for level 60. Let's talk about the easy stuff, the Sunken Temple loot and Prebis loot. The set chest piece is one that I think I'll be using probably until I get maybe the tiered chest piece out of Molten Core. Who knows? Who knows how itemization is going to look. Maybe Savage Gladiator would fit here better. But hit 60, I'm going to Molten Core. This is what I'm going to be running with. It's a very good chest, very easy to get. Almost all raid teams are done with the tokens at this point, give or take maybe 1 or 2 people, and we're working on off-spec gear. So if you don't have a chest token, pick it up. It's an easy way to get a good chest, and you can follow this plan pretty similarly. Aside from that, though, I'm still using the Nomerneck. I'm still using gloves from Sunken Temple. There's really just not a lot of gear needed from Sunken Temple to really be successful the minute you hit 60, and even these aren't required. You could find other alternatives, such as the I think it's the Blazewind chest from that we all had at level 40 from the quest chain in Badlands. That would work fine here too, probably something you'd upgrade right away too. So pretty easy to do that. The bigger investment is going to be the PvP gear. The Highlander's Plate Spalders, they require Exalted Rep with AB. The Sentinel's Plate Leggings, they require Exalted Rep with Warsong Gulch. Yes, those are grinds, and if you haven't been doing them throughout the phases, you're a little behind at this point, but it's not too late. It's really straightforward to get those reps done. For Arathi Basin, you just need 210 silver coins from the Stranglethorn Blood Moon event, and if you're a human, it's 10% less. So go and do that on cooldown, whatever you want to call it, whenever the event is up, and just go grind out those coins. You can go get them, buy the lumber, turn it as you see fit, or save it up. You have the rest of this phase to do that, and honestly, there's not much else to do this phase if you're already at this level of gear and have everything sorted out. Now, Warsong Gulch, that's a little more painful. I recommend hitting the Ashmail event every time it's up until you're revered, and when you're revered, every day get there, get that token. It takes 21 days to go from 0 to 21,000 rep for Exalted. Do that every day, you'll get there before you know it. It's very quick and easy, you just have to watch the clock and hit the right times for it. Beyond that, the rest of this gear is pretty straightforward. A lot of this is from lower rep levels, things like that belt, the boots, the Protector's Band, pretty decent set of gear right off the bat. And even if you don't have a good neck, you could get the one from the Warsong rep just to start out with. You'll replace it soon enough when you get an Onyxia head or something like that. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at for going into level 60 in that first minute, doing a little world tour, scooping up all the gear, and getting ready to head into Molten Core and Onyxia and whatever else is released at that time. If you're playing something like a caster or a dual wielding class, it's going to be a little bit different, but keep in mind that hit is an important stat going into level 60. Season of Discovery has given a lot of really great opportunities to pick up some hit gear without much difficulty. The Breath of the Beast is a great example of this. Just 12 wild offerings, and you get something that'll work for every class, every spec, Even healing, we get more crit chances with it, but I don't recommend it for a healer. But go pick up one of those now if you haven't. Go scoop up some of that gear that's just getting disenchanted or rolled off as vendor loot in Sunken Temple. It might help you get there if it has hit on it. Now, when it's all said and done, am I going to be using this gear for very long? I don't think so. I think we're going to get showered in loot at level 60. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this changes over time. But for now, this is my goal, and this is what I'm going to roll with. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. Hopefully you've had a few ideas for yourself on what to work on and what to prep for level 60. And if you like this video, please subscribe. I'm going to have another one coming out shortly about how I'm planning on focusing my professions and reputations going into level 60, which I think will be very helpful and help you make a lot of gold. A lot more fun than running around on incursions too. Anyways, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.